Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about several types of date selection. I can't guarantee these are all the types out there, but they're the major types. Now, date selection is quite complex because you have so many different possible ways to analyze the date, and they often conflict one another, and that's the real issue. There are several major forms, and some are more difficult to know how to do than others, and I'm still learning some. The most difficult part of the way I look at it, of date selection, is some of the forms of how to look at it say it's a great day. Another form may say it's a really bad day. So what is right? I mean, that is a real quandary. There are some services that attempt to add the various different factors together to determine how good every single day is, despite the fact you may have this conflict. They tend to be expensive, but they are personalized to you. So this is actually not a bad thing if you are having a lot of difficulty. And maybe you only need to do it for a year, so maybe you can afford that. Now, the cheapest place I've found is from S Metaphysics, and you can Google them. And they do have a service that does this an analysis. It's their BATSA service, and it's good for it's like good for a full year, and it's not terribly expensive compared to some of the other services. It's not exactly cheap, but it's also not that expensive. Now, the most common thing you will see with date selection is the 12-day officers, and that's like open, close, establish, balance, all those days, and the Donggong, which is basically the animal signs. These are often listed on any tongshu, at least most tongshus, and they are available on the ProKerala website. I've referenced it before. It's Prokerala, I believe. I'm a terrible speller, but I think that's how it's spelled. And then there are the 28 constellations. Now, these things are pretty commonly known, and if you get the Joey Yap book about personalized date selection, it will tell you all this, and it will give you directions that you can actually do this. Now, there is also something called Black Rabbit date selection, and this is a very complex system. It has rules that aren't that long, but at the same time, they aren't, they're not the clearest ones out there. And I need a few examples to make sure I understand what they're talking about. And I will attempt to do that in the near future. There's also the yellow and black belt date selection. Now, this is a lot easier to understand, and I found the rules, and they're not terribly hard. But these two often give different things. If this one's good, it's not unusual at all for this one to be bad, and vice versa. And so you really wonder. Each one of these have, like, the day officers. There's good day officers and bad ones, and there's good constellation and bad ones. So you can see that there's going to be at least the possibility of a lot of conflict here. And oftentimes they do conflict one another. Then there is also Schwinkong date selection. This uses hexagrams. Now, every animal sign, or every animal pillar, that is the element and animal sign, which defines the date, that has its own hexagram. And the hexagrams have a element and an period star associated with them. And you also have this in your batsa. And they usually look at your day pillar. You will have a hexagram associated with your day pillar. You look at the combination of your hexagram with the day we're living in, that day's hexagram by the animal sign. And that, if you have the same numbers or a combo 10 or a HER2, it tends to be a good day. And if you don't, it's an average day. I don't know that you necessarily have bad days listed, but I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but this is actually pretty easy to do once you have the table. And then you also have personalized date selection, which takes into account basically your clash dates. And you'll have 4 different clash dates based on your 4 pillars in your batsa, in your natal part of your batsa. Now, these first 5 all change every single day. The personalized date selections, if you have a clash day, it's there. If you don't, it has basically no effect on the day. So they're really only worried about clash days. And the Joey Yap book will talk about this. So it will tell you what type of clash you have if you have one. So it's a pretty decent book. Now there are also special dates which only affect those certain dates and have no effect on the days they're not present. These dates include things like the Holy Heart, Heavenly Wish, Relief God, Heaven Pardon dates, which I've already talked about and given you instructions for. So you can do these yourself. I will be having these available for sale in starting next month. That is on February of 2024, and you can use them or you can do the work yourself. Now, when we come to the Black Rabbit, it has a couple of different aspects. It has regular date selection, that is, a day has a certain property, is it good or bad? But even within that date, it also has a way to look at the time for any given date. Now, this I don't understand, and it's very hard to find the information about this. But as long as it's a good day, the time is not so important. But the big thing is, and this is something I do use, this also defines the sun and moon arrival dates. And this is we use in feng shui to safely renovate areas of your house that have annual afflictions. So this I've been using for a long time, but only this particular aspect of the Black Rabbit. Now the elements in the Black Rabbit, just like the day officers, I mean, these are the elements, are given here. There are 9 of them. The sun and the moon are the best dates, but we have some other good ones. We have Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. They're also good. Everything else is bad. Now, these 2 here are stars in probably the Big Dipper. One might be the North Star, although I don't see North in the Chinese. But these are the names here are just the transliterations of the Chinese, and I think it is probably the Mandarin translations or how you say it, you know, the transliterations. So how these are arranged is kind of complicated. So we have this, and this is actually taken from this website. A little bit hard to find, but I translated it into English because its original language is Chinese. And where you see brackets, I have translated for you if you don't know the names of the animal signs in Chinese. So, but you can pause the page if you want to read it all. It's quite complex. Now, the metal and wood suns refer to planets that have metal or wood elements. And that information is out there if you're really interested, but I gave you the table, that's all you really need. Making sure to find out what day has which element, that's the hard part, and that I'll be working on. Now, the black and yellow belt date selection um, has to do with the sun's path, that's the yellow belt, and the black belt is the moon's path. So you can see all of this has to do with what's out there in the universe. And so this isn't just kind of randomly chosen. And here's the table. It is big. Unfortunately, if I try to do it in English, you can't read anything because the words would be so small. But it's actually pretty simple to understand. Anything in red is positive, anything in black is negative or at best neutral. But this top row is the day animal, and this is the normal order of the animals. So we have rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. And the order is the same here. You go down to the snake, you go back. The next one is the horse. It's along with the rat, and it is here. Now these are the months. So on a rat month or a horse month, on any rat day of those 2 months, you will have the golden chamber. That's what this is. And the next day will be, because they always go, animal signs always go in order, it will be heavenly virtue. Then you'll have the white tiger, and so forth. Now, this pattern may look quite complicated, but it's not. If you go across this first row, this order will stay the same. You go back one, you put these two in the next row, and then you start back over here and go across up to this one. So you can see they're the same. You go back one, these two go down here, and it starts back here. So, this starts and it goes until you're reaching this one. So the pattern is very simple. So once you know one row, you know them all. And I've confirmed that this is correct. And you can get a reference table here, xksf.art, yellow and black belt reference table. If you put that into Google, you will get another table. That table isn't as clear as this because it's like a photo of it, but you can there it will give you all the definitions of everything, and that will make it easier for you to understand. Now, I really don't use date selection beyond the special dates. And the reason is they conflict a lot. Some are good, some pieces are good, some pieces are bad. You know, to me, it's so murky. I really don't know how to deal with it. Now, the way I live my life is I basically work every day to learn and improve my knowledge and my skills. Some days I work on skills, some days I work on knowledge. Uh, you know, I just work every day basically. I rarely take a day off. Some days I make breakthroughs. Other days I learn something that actually leads to a breakthrough days later. And I really noticed that when I was trying to do my webpage, which I did from scratch by myself. I only watched some YouTube videos and maybe a few web pages that tell me certain things. And I came to a point where I liked the way it looked offline, and I tried to get it online, and that took me almost a week. And it must have been a good day. I finally found the right, by changing what I was searching for, you know, when I was searching on the web, I finally found the right website that told me how to replace the existing website out there. I had bought that website name, or basically at least a year before I actually had my website up, because I tried a couple different times to create the website, and it took a while to do it. And finally I got it to work, and it replaced what was there, and it all worked. And so it was like a real breakthrough day. That was a day I think I was very, very happy, and probably got a little drunk that night because it worked, and I tried so hard to get it to do it. Those days when I have breakthrough is only because I've been working every day leading up to that. and I finally get the right piece of information. So, and that probably was a good day for me, but I don't remember what day that was. Now, as I said, what I observed, there's always good and bad to every day. So you can pick doing something a given day based on what is good and avoiding what is bad, because they do tend to have different aspects. But this is really complicated. And if you really want to do this, I would say go to that S Metaphysics and pay the little bit over 100 US dollars for a year's worth of data. That's not too bad if you really want to do date selection. Now, for me, I think really just using every day to improve your life through learning or through working for money, either way, that's probably the best way to improve your life because you're going to make gains this way. Because if you're a hard worker, you're going to get a promotion, especially if you can let your boss know how hard working you are. Now, for very important dates, you may wish to consult a professional, which I am not. I don't do date selection. But if you're going to, most people want to do this like for marriage. That's okay. I think how committed you are uh, doesn't really depend on what date you get married. So that doesn't guarantee your marriage won't end in divorce, but maybe it has some effect. But these are really like if you want to open a business, this is a good date, a good time to consult somebody to know what is a good date in the next, let's say, month or maybe 2 months. They can tell you what the best date would be. You can also use this perhaps for an operation that is not life-threatening, like let's say a knee replacement or a hip replacement, something like this. It can make your recovery go better, um, and it can make the surgery go well and smoothly. Uh, Things like that, you may wish to consult a professional. Now, the only downside when it comes to, let's say, an operation, most of the time doctors only work on certain days of the week, only do operations on certain days of the week. The other days they meet with patients. So you may have a much less selection for that. But you would probably still want to make sure that it's not a terrible day. So uh, that is when you would consult a professional, when something really, really significant, life-changing thing significantly um, that will have a real impact on your future. Those are the days you should consult with a professional if you want to use date selection. So that's it. You can either email me here or leave a comment if you have any questions. And I have a little bit of information at my website that might be helpful, including finding your QA number, which is a really important thing, and um, and this will help you in terms of other aspects. And I also have quite a few things available at my PayHip store that are charts and so forth, things that you can use to analyze your feng shui. Thank you again for watching.